Just in case our net is down, tonight we'd like to introduce each other and talk a little bit about our personal education experiences, and then share a little bit about the goals of this project and how the work is going to be structured. So can we start with who you are, where you're from, and why you're here? Great, thank you all very much. Now, to help us understand why we want change, can we each share one education experience that left us feeling less than, not good enough, or fearful of our school? Here's my example. These are two wonderful young men, now dropouts, because they were labeled stupid instead of kinesthetic learners. Okay, your turn. Thanks, everyone. Our negative experiences will help us design a mesh net that makes real change in schools.
Schools are encouraged to do is to find out what kids can do across a very narrow spectrum of achievement. One of the effects of No Child Left Behind has been to narrow the focus onto the so-called STEM disciplines. They're very important. I'm not here to argue against science and math. On the contrary, they're necessary, but they're not sufficient. A real education has to give equal weight to the arts, the humanities, to physical education. An awful lot of kids... Sorry, thank you. One estimate in America currently is that something like 10% of kids getting on that way are being diagnosed with various conditions under the broad title of attention deficit disorder, ADHD. I'm not saying there's no such thing. I just don't believe it's an epidemic like this. If you sit kids down hour after hour doing low-grade clerical work, don't be surprised if they start to fidget, you know. Children are not, for the most part, suffering from a psychological condition. They're suffering from childhood, you know, and I know this because I spent my early life as a child. I went through the whole thing. And kids prosper best with a broad curriculum that celebrates their various talents, not just a small range of them. And by the way, the arts aren't just important because they improve math scores, they're important because they speak to parts of children's being which are otherwise untouched.
All over Ladakh, children are born into a fantastically rich learning environment where they have meaning, responsibility, and relationship. Then we pluck them up and stick them into a cold, dark room and tell them to do what they can't do, memorize, and tell them not to do what they excel at, create, analyze, evaluate, and apply their growing brains. The MeshNet's goal, our goal together over the next 12 weeks, is to flip this on its head. Let's support discovery and ACTS memorization with a variety of open source engaging tools that can work here and maybe be applied elsewhere in India.